It strikes me that even with all our tech, moving money globally still feels, well, kind of clunky. It's like this patchwork of systems that just don't talk to each other properly. What if there was a totally different way? Something genuinely open, community run.
Well, that feeling, that desire for something more accessible, more
Right.
decentralized,
Yeah.
that's exactly what we're digging into today. You, our listener, pointed us towards this really fascinating document, TGIP1. Think of it as the foundational blueprint, the constitution, if you like,
Hmm.
for the Telcoin platform and its governing body, the Telcoin Association.
Exactly. And this isn't just some abstract idea, right? It's a concrete plan to shift control and build something huge,
Yeah.
making Telcoin the key blockchain infrastructure for mobile network operators, the big names we use daily, and potentially reaching, well, billions of people. Imagine reshaping global finance right from your phone. It's
Yeah. It really is. And the truly radical part is moving away from that traditional centralized control. Instead of one company, Telcoin Holdings, making all the decisions, the vision is to hand power over to a community-governed body, this Telcoin Association. It's more than just tech. It's a fundamental rethink of how a financial system could be organized.
Yeah, and when you get into TGIP1, you find some, frankly, surprising elements like these giant mobile companies being core parts of a blockchain and this unique legal setup in Switzerland to give this whole decentralized thing teeth, legally speaking. Plus, a really detailed governance structure built for the long term.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack it. What was the original motivation? Why build around mobile operators specifically?
The core insight really is leveraging what mobile network operators already have.
Hmm.
Massive reach, significant capital, and deep, deep local market knowledge. I mean, think about it. Globally, in nearly every country, a few MNOs dominate. Their infrastructure, all those cell towers, it's already incredibly distributed. Perfect for a decentralized network, you see. Plus, they have huge data centers, they control the direct line to billions of phones, and often their ID verification and fraud prevention systems are arguably better than traditional banks in many places. The foundation's already there.
They're basically sitting on this gold mine of infrastructure that's not fully tapped for this kind of thing.
Exactly. And the proposal points out how fragmented the current global financial system is. It lacks a truly universal blockchain standard for easy, everyday use. That's the gap Telcoin aims to fill. The vision is to be that globally adopted, compliant, decentralized backbone for, well, all kinds of digital stuff. Buying things, accessing services, proving you own something. All as easy as using the internet right through a mobile app.
That's a massive vision. How do they see it actually working, like day to day?
The proposal describes this integrated system. It weaves together mobile access, easy value exchange, and secure blockchain settlement, all in one package. And critically, it talks about empowering four key user groups. They call them miners, giving them not just potential financial rewards, but real say in how the platform develops.
Okay, miners. That word usually makes you think of, power-hungry computers solving puzzles. Is that it?
Not quite in the traditional Bitcoin sense, no. While there are network validators, miner here is broader. It's anyone contributing significantly to the ecosystem in specific ways. And this idea of empowerment, giving these different groups a real stake, a voice that's key to their decentralized model. The goal is a self-sustaining system where everyone's interests are sort of aligned with the platform's overall health. And for you, listening, wanting those quick insights, this whole approach using existing mobile networks, empowering this diverse user base, that's a major aha moment. It's what makes Telcoin different.
Right. So who are these four types of miners? What exactly do they do?
Okay, so the Telcoin platform itself is built on three interconnected blockchain networks. First, the base layer, the Telcoin network. That's the blockchain itself. Then, layered on top, you have TelX. That's designed as a decentralized marketplace for financial services, like an exchange. And finally, there's the Telcoin application network, 10N. That's the mobile app layer users interact with directly. Each of these networks produces something essential for delivering those decentralized financial products and services to mobile users.
And tell her the token that fuels all this. Where does it come from?
Exactly. TEL is the native token, the gas in the engine. The proposal introduces the TEL treasury as the main source. And importantly, it's designed to be renewable. This treasury generates TEL across the platform layers, and then the various miners can earn it, or harvest it, as they call it. Think of it like different ecosystem activities feeding back into a central pool, which then gets distributed to those actively contributing.
Okay, so let's break down these miners within that three-layer system. Who are they and what are they actually doing?
Right, there are four main types. First, validators. They operate on the Telcoin network, the base layer. These are intended primarily to be GSMA member mobile network operators, the big telcos. They stake TEL, locking it up to help secure the blockchain.
Okay, telcos securing the network. Who else?
Then you have liquidity miners on Telex, the marketplace layer. They're like the market makers. They provide the crypto assets needed for people to trade decentrally on Telex.
Makes sense. And the third group?
That's TN stakers and developers. This covers two subgroups, really. The developers who build the mobile apps on the Telcoin application network, and the everyday stakers, the users who stake their own Tela within those apps, showing support and potentially earning rewards.
So each group has a specific job, contributing to one part of the ecosystem.
Precisely. And for staking TTEL and contributing, whether it's network security, trading liquidity, or building and using apps, they earn fees from user activity in their domain. Plus, they harvest new TEL based on rules set by these things called miner councils. And here's a clever bit. A portion of the standard transaction fees on the Telcoin network, the gas fees, actually gets sent back to the TEL treasury.
Ah, so that's the renewable part you mentioned.
Exactly. It creates that sustainable source of TEL and keeps the incentive cycle going. It encourages participation and growth long term.
That does sound pretty smart. Okay, let's go deeper into these networks. Start with the Telcoin network itself. What's its main job?
So the Telcoin network is the foundation. It's designed to be EVM compatible, which basically means it can run smart contracts just like Ethereum. That opens up a huge world of possibilities for apps.
Okay, EVM compatible. Got it.
It's meant to be a public blockchain, secured by those MNOs using proof of stake. Its main role is providing that secure, transparent base for managing digital asset rights and enabling protocols like Telex to work properly. It's the secure ledger for everything.
The bedrock, basically. What does it do technically?
Well, it processes transactions, bundles them into blocks. Users pay small gas fees in TEL to get their transactions included. The validators, those MNOs running the nodes, earn these fees, plus newly issued TEL for securing the network.
Right, incentives.
Yeah, and it empowers users by giving them direct control over their assets. And because it's EVM compatible, all sorts of DeFi and Web3 apps can potentially be built on it. Loads of use cases. And those MNO validators aren't just running machines, they get a direct say in governance through their miner group.
Okay, secure foundation. Check. Now, Telex, the decentralized marketplace, how does that fit in?
Telex is planned as the main hub for decentralized finance, or DeFi, within Telcoin. It's a platform for user-owned automated trading using liquidity pools. Think of these pools as shared pots of different cryptos that let people swap directly without needing a traditional exchange in the middle. It's a core DeFi concept.
So if I wanted to swap DL for something else inside the ecosystem, I'd probably use Telex.
That's the idea, yes. And the liquidity miners are key here. They provide the crypto assets for those pools. They deposit funds. By doing that and staking their LP tokens, basically the deposit receipts, they earn a cut of the trading fees from their pools. And they also harvest new TEL based on how much liquidity they've staked, all governed by rules set by the Telex Council. It keeps it fair.
Got it. Liquidity miners fuel the trading, earn fees, and tell else. Okay, last piece. The Telcoin application network. TELS. What's that about?
TAN is the layer most people will actually see and use. It's the network of mobile apps and related smart contracts. It provides that user-friendly interface and the secure self-custody layer. Think of it like your mobile banking app, but decentralized, where you truly control your own funds.
So these are the apps people download from the App Store?
Yeah, exactly. Apps for storing, sending, receiving crypto, interacting with Telex, using other apps on the Telcoin network. And this is where the other two miner types come in. Application developers also intended to be GSMA members who stake TEL. They build these apps. They earn transaction fees from users, and they harvest TEL apps based on how popular their apps become. User adoption drives their rewards.
Okay, developers build apps, earn based on usage.
And then you have the stakers. These are regular Telcoin app users who stake their own TEL. By staking, they can kind of connect their networks, refer new users, and earn a percentage of the fees those referred users generate. They also harvest TEL based on their network's growth. Both developers and stakers operate under the TAN Council's governance.
Okay, 3 layers, 4 minor types makes sense. But this whole decentralization thing lives or dies by the governance, right? How is this complex thing actually managed? How are decisions made?
Right, this is where it gets really interesting, and I think where Telcoin's approach tries to be quite innovative. The proposal lays out a specific tech stack just for managing the governance system itself. It's like the digital tools for collective decision-making.
Okay, lay it on me. What's in this governance toolkit?
Well, they use safe wallets. These are secure multi-signature wallets on the blockchain that basically represent the councils and different groups. Then, governance NFTs. Unique tokens that act like membership cards for council members, grant voting power, and can even receive TL rewards for service.
Okay.
For voting that happens off the main blockchain to save costs and complexity, they use Snapshot. It's a pretty standard tool for DAOs and decentralized
Nice.
communities.
Snapshot's well known.
To connect those off-chain snapshot votes to actual on-chain actions, they use something called the Zodiac Reality Module. It bridges that gap. There's also a Zodiac Guard module. This is a key safety feature. It lets the Compliance Council veto certain transactions if they're potentially harmful or break rules.
Like an emergency brake.
Sort of, yeah, a check and balance. Then the Zodiac Bridge module is for future stuff, letting these safe wallets interact across different blockchains. And finally, they plan to use ENS names, those human-readable addresses like council.tel.eth or something, to make configuring snapshot spaces easier as things mature. It's a pretty comprehensive set of tools aimed at making decentralized governance work securely and transparently.
Wow, that is quite a setup. Seems like a lot of thought went into the how of making decisions. So if someone listening wants to really get into the weeds on this, where do they go?
The main place is the website, telcoin.org. You'll find the main handbook there, which gives a good overview, plus detailed documentation covering everything, the tech specs, miner roles, the whole governance system we're talking about. They also have a forum for community discussion, proposals, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And importantly, they're launching a Telcoin Discord server. Once TGIP1 gets the final okay, Discord is set to become the main spot for real-time chat, debate, and info sharing among miners, councils, everyone involved.
Right, so plenty of resources. Now, the Telcoin Association itself, why create this formal legal structure? And why Switzerland? That seems specific.
The Telcoin Association is crucial. It's a non-profit, Swiss Verein, basically a legally recognized association based in Lugano. Its main job is to provide that solid legal foundation for the whole decentralized operation. It gives the minor groups a formal way to organize, create their rules, enforce them, and have those rules actually recognized legally.
So it's about giving the community's decisions real-world legal standing.
Exactly. The Verein structure has some key benefits for this kind of project. It gives legal recognition to the community's self-governance. It gets legal person status, so the association can sign contracts, own things, operate legally. It offers tax clarity, limited liability protection for members, which is important.
Definitely.
It provides legal protection for council members acting properly, and it sets up clear ways for this global community to share information. Their stated purpose is scientific focused on the sustainable development of the Telcoin platform and its governance, keeping with the nonprofit goal. So it's not just tech, it's building a proper, legally sound organization around it.
A legal blueprint alongside the technical one. And Switzerland wasn't accidental, I take it.
Oh, definitely not. Switzerland and Lugano in Ticino specifically seems very strategic. Switzerland has this long history as a stable, neutral financial hub. It has established legal frameworks that can adapt to new things like decentralized associations. Interestingly, the proposal points out that about a quarter of Swiss forestry, a classic shared resource, is managed using similar varying structures. So there's precedent for collective governance.
That forestry example is fascinating. A real-world parallel.
Yeah. And Lugano itself has been really proactive with crypto and blockchain. They have initiatives like Plan Euro, integrating crypto locally. Plus, it's home to the Crypto Valley Association, pushing blockchain innovation. And geographically, being central in Europe helps with global accessibility.
So the Swiss legal system just felt like a good fit for a global, decentralized project like this.
Exactly. The proposal argues the Verein structure supports decentralization, allows truly global participation, enables a clear separation of powers and governance, provides that crucial limited liability, gives the association its own separate legal personality, and offers the flexibility needed for a project like Telcoin to evolve over time.
Okay, the legal side makes sense. Let's loop back to the miners. We know the four types, their roles, but what's their actual power? How much influence do they really have?
The proposal really hammers home that these four miner types, validators, liquidity miners, developers, stakers, are meant to be the engine driving the platform. Each has a distinct role, specific activities, defined economic benefits. But, and this is key, they're all given equal standing as distinct minor groups within the governance system. Equal authority, despite different functions. That's fundamental to their decentralized philosophy.
Equal authority. Even though, say, a validator MNO operates very differently from an individual staker.
That's the principle they're shooting for, yes. These minor groups collectively hold the ultimate power, control, and responsibility for Telcoin's governance. They exercise this power through decision-making at different levels within their own minor group, potentially in a larger minor assembly, and crucially, through representation on the specialized minor councils. Each minor type also has clear harvesting activities, how they earn TTEL, and a defined basis for their income, all laid out. And they earn fees directly from user activity in their areas, network fees, trading fees, app fees. So their influence isn't just abstract, it's tied to their actual participation and the value they help create.
So it's not just about earning tokens. They have a genuine say in how things are run. Okay, how does this governance system actually work day to day? What's the framework for decisions and disagreements?
Right, the governance system is basically the rulebook. It defines how miners interact, how platform rules are set and changed, both within the platform and the association. And they explicitly state they've tried to learn from past blockchain governance experiments, DAOs and the like, and incorporate established, proven principles.
What kind of principles we're talking about?
They specifically mention integrating Elinor Ostrom's 8 design principles. She won a Nobel for her work on how communities successfully manage shared resources, common pool resources.
Ostrom, right. Common pool resources
Yeah.
like fisheries or forests.
Exactly. And they're operationalizing these principles using frameworks like the Institutional Analysis and Development, IAD framework, and the Social Ecological Systems, SES framework. The core idea is treat the Telcoin platform like a shared resource and use these proven social science tools to manage it sustainably for everyone involved.
So they're grounding the tech in established theories about collective action and resource management.
Yeah.
That's pretty thoughtful.
It seems so, yes. The proposal outlines the strategic process. First, identify the platform as a common pool resource. Understand the current situation, the common property regime. Then, embed Ostrom's principles in the association's constitution, and use the IAD and SCS frameworks to translate those principles into practical governance structures, decision rules, conflict resolution mechanisms. They even go through each of Ostrom's 8 principles and detail how Telcoin aims to apply it. They clearly recognize the platform faces challenges providing the infrastructure, provisioning, and managing tel-use appropriation, and the whole governance system is built to tackle those head-on.
A very academic but potentially robust approach.
Hmm.
So what specific policy areas does this governance system actually control? What can the miners and councils decide on?
It's designed to cover pretty much everything critical. All the rules for human and tech interactions with the platform TAN, Teledex, the Telcoin network itself, plus managing the Tel token supply, the treasury operations, and even maintaining and evolving the governance infrastructure itself, those tools like safe wallets and Snapshot we discussed. It's meant to be holistic.
A broad mandate. And this classification, nature of the good as a common pool resource, CPR, why is that label so important?
Defining it as a CPR is crucial because these resources have specific traits that make them tricky to govern. Usually high exclusion costs, it's hard to stop people using them, and high subtractability one person's use diminishes it for others.
Like that fishing ground example you mentioned. Hard to fence off, and overfishing hurts everyone.
Exactly. Recognizing these traits highlights the core governance challenges for Telcoin, mainly provisioning problems, how do you ensure the infrastructure is built and maintained, and appropriation problems, how do you start people over-consuming or unfairly grabbing the Tel token. So the governance institution, the rules, has to regulate who can harvest Tel, how they can do it, who contributes to maintenance, how things are monitored and enforced, how conflicts get resolved, and crucially, how the rules themselves can be changed over time. It's a framework for managing that shared digital resource.
Okay, managing the shared resource fairly and sustainably. Who are the key players in this decision-making? Who gets a vote, essentially?
The main actors are those 4 minor groups: stakers, developers, liquidity miners, and validators. They're defined by their function, how they contribute, and how they harvest TL. And the proposal stresses they're seen as distinct interest groups, but, and this is vital, empowered with equal authority within the governance system to protect their rights and interests.
Equal authority again. So designed to stop one group just running roughshod over the others.
That's a core goal of the democratic logic here, yes. They're explicitly moving from a top-down autocratic model towards a representative democracy. The thinking is this reduces decision-making costs and, importantly, minimizes the chance of one group imposing negative consequences, externalities on others.
How does that representation work?
Each minor group elects representatives annually to serve on the various minor councils. They can also delegate their voting power continuously using liquid delegation. Every minor group gets guaranteed representation on every council, though how many seats they get might vary depending on the council's specific function. It could be functional, balanced, or asymmetrical representation. But ultimately, the proposal states the minors as a collective hold the supreme shared authority. They can change the rules, pick or remove council members, even serve on councils themselves. Power rests with the participant community.
Representative democracy for a blockchain.
Yeah.
Interesting. The proposal also calls Telcoin governance a polycentric system. What does that mean here? Why is it important?
Polycentricity basically means having multiple autonomous decision-making centers within one overall system. For Telcoin, it means you have the 4 minor groups electing delegates to 5 different minor councils. Each council has significant autonomy over its specific area, its jurisdiction.
So not one big council deciding everything, but several specialized ones.
Exactly. And there are good reasons for this polycentric approach. First, adaptive capacity. Different councils can experiment with solutions in their own areas without risking the whole system. Fosters innovation. Second, institutional fit. You can tailor rules better to the specific needs of the network layer versus the app layer, for example. And third, risk mitigation through redundancy. If one council struggles or fails, the others can keep functioning. Makes the whole system more resilient.
Okay, multiple centers of power. What are the key organizations in this polycentric setup?
You've got the minor groups and potentially a minor assembly holding that ultimate shared power. Then the 5 specialized minor councils. Platform, Treasury, TAN, Telex, and compliance, each focused on its domain. Then the Telcoin Association, the legal entity in Switzerland, and finally the Telcoin Association Operations UAB, or TAO, that's the operational arm.
Ah, the TAO, the
Yeah.
operational arm. Why create that separate entity? What does it do?
The TAO is set up as the dedicated implementation unit for the association. Its job is to efficiently produce and manage collective goods and services for the ecosystem, but always under the direction and with funding from the minor councils.
So councils decide, TAO executes.
Pretty much. The separation has benefits. Scalability councils focus on policy, TAO on doing. Decentralization TAO might engage various teams. Risk management handles operational, tax, legal details. It also reduces the decision load on councils, letting them focus on strategy. And it can help ensure minority representation by potentially proposing things or advocating for groups. Essentially, the TAO is the engine that turns council decisions into real-world actions, platform maintenance, development, growth initiatives.
Councils set strategy. TAO executes. Got it. Now, the actual rules themselves, are they all the same or are there different levels?
There's a clear hierarchy, 3 main vertical levels at the bottom. Operational rules. These cover everyday activities, routine interactions. They're meant to be flexible, changeable by the relevant minor councils.
Okay, day-to-day stuff.
Above that, council rules, or collective choice rules. These dictate how operational rules get changed, things like council member selection, voting procedures within councils. They're more stable, set via constitutional processes needing broader agreement.
Rules about making rules.
Exactly. And at the top, constitutional rules. These define the fundamental governance terms, how collective choice rules can be amended, the core roles and powers of governing bodies. These are the most stable, hardest to change, requiring wide community consensus. The proposal also mentions meta-constitutional rules, the underlying association values guiding everything.
Like a legal system with different levels of law, needing different levels of consensus to change. How are changes actually made at each level?
Okay, for the top constitutional rules, the minor assembly, if all 4 groups agree to form one, can use a Telcoin Governance Improvement Proposal, TGIP. Needs 80% approval, 20% quorum to change anything fundamental. Also, individual minor groups can use a Telcoin Representative Improvement Proposal, TRIP, just to change their own council members' duties. Same 80-20 threshold within their group.
Okay, high bar for fundamental changes. What about council rules?
Council rules, collective choice, are mainly set by the minor councils themselves, who are elected by the minor groups. The proposal details council member selection rules, voting power per group, representation on each council, the annual 7-day election process, nomination rules. The TAO might step in if quorum isn't met initially. And there's liquid delegation, letting groups replace reps anytime outside elections if 2% of the group supports it, triggering a 7-day vote.
Continuous representation adjustment. Makes sense. And the actual council decisions.
The proposal outlines minor council decision-making rules very specifically for each council. Different proposal types: TIPI, Platform Council; TELIP, Platform and Treasury, notably for TEL token, Treasury, network changes; Telex IP, Telex Council; TENIP, TAN Council. CCIP, Compliance Council, handles vetoes, authorizations, conflicts. For each type, it specifies who can propose, the approval percent needed, supermajority up to unanimity, quorum, vote duration, communication channel. It's all mapped out. Plus, eligibility rules for minors and council members, often including KYCML. Brief mentions of maintenance rules, council to AO responsibilities, communication rules, meetings, channels, and conflict resolution rules. Compliance Council's job.
It sounds incredibly detailed. They really seem to have tried to preemptively structure everything, which brings us to this idea of Telcoin governance as a common property regime. What does that mean for ownership? Who owns the platform?
User ownership is absolutely core to the whole Telcoin philosophy. Unlike traditional private property owned by a company or public property owned by government, Telcoin aims for a common property rights regime. Here, the miners collectively share ownership of the platform itself.
Collectively own it.
Yes. Individual miners have private rights to access the platform and withdraw the TEL they earn. That's theirs. But collectively, they exercise collective choice rights, managing the platform, setting rules, deciding who can join. Crucially, there are no full alienation rights. No single person or group can just sell off the whole Telcoin platform. It belongs to the participating community.
So it's owned and governed by the active participants.
Right.
Not a corporation, not the government, not just open to anyone with no rules.
Exactly. The proposal contrasts it with public property, government, private property, corporate, and open access unmanaged tragedy of the common situations. In Telcoin's model, the community of miners jointly owns the common resource, the platform. They decide how it's used. But individual miners retain private ownership of what they harvest the TEL tokens. This unique setup aims to align everyone's incentives, ensuring long-term sustainability and fair governance by giving contributors a direct stake and a real voice.
Okay, this has been a really thorough exploration of the principles.
Yeah.
And TGIP1 was the proposal that brought all this into being, right?
Yeah.
What did it actually propose, and what were the next steps?
Yes, TGIP1 was the big one, the founding proposal. It formally laid out this whole framework for the Telcoin Platform and Association based on the governance system we've just walked through. It was submitted by Parker Spann, put to a community vote on Snapshot back in December 2023. The proposal was super specific about voting dates, times, and exactly who was eligible. Telcoin app users, external TEL holders, Telex liquidity miners, and their voting power, with clear conditions for each.
So a landmark decision by the community itself.
Absolutely. TGIP1 also approved the initial TEL allocations from the Treasury to the TAO for crucial first steps, a full code audit for security, and building the Telcoin Network's Block Explorer for transparency.
Practical first steps funded.
Yeah, and it laid out a phased implementation plan. From informal discussion to the formal vote, then initial TEL distribution, council nominations, the code audit, turning on TEL issuance and harvesting for miners, holding the first elections, formally setting up the association legally in Switzerland, developing the Telcoin network, transferring its governance, and finally, migrating the existing TAN and TELIPs onto this new community-governed Telcoin network, though they acknowledge that depends heavily on getting validators on board.
A whole roadmap. Did it mention risks?
Oh, yes, critically.
Yeah.
It included a detailed risk assessment, smart contract bugs, security hacks, regulatory issues, scalability limits, losing keys, interoperability problems, environmental impact, TEL running out eventually, lack of adoption, governance capture by a few, rule violations, conflicts between groups, a long list. And for each risk, it outlined mitigation strategies and assigned responsibility to specific entities within the new governance structure.
A remarkably thorough plan covering tech, legal, governance, risks. Okay, wrapping this up, what are the big takeaways from this deep dive into TGIP1?
I think the key things are the sheer ambition of making Telcoin a core infrastructure for telcos globally, the commitment to a decentralized, community-driven structure where miners hold the power, the clear roles defined for everyone, and this really comprehensive governance system drawing heavily on Ostrom's principles for managing shared resources.
It really does feel like an attempt to blend established governance theory with cutting-edge blockchain tech.
Absolutely. And the proposal itself stresses this isn't set in stone. It's an ongoing process, committed to refinement based on community feedback and real-world results as things unfold.
So, final thought. What should listeners take away from all this?
I guess this whole TGIP1 exploration highlights the incredible potential and maybe the challenge of community-driven governance. Can it really reshape finance? Can it influence how the internet itself evolves? Can this model of users collectively managing a shared digital resource actually create something more sustainable, more equitable, more resilient for our online future? That's a big question worth thinking about.
Definitely food for thought. If this has piqued your interest and you want to go deeper, seriously, check out telcoin.org. The handbook, the detailed docs, the community forum, it's all there for you to explore. It's a fascinating look at building a truly decentralized, user-owned platform, step by step. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.